Do you ever get really like starstruck seeing someone rock up and you go, oh wow, that's that person, and maybe there's someone that you weren't anticipating to walk into the studio?
People would say to me, oh, the people you've worked with must be amazing how you've seen these people and seen their lifestyles and worked with them, and not really their poo is just as smelly as our poo. I mean, it's not
yeah, okay. Shh, don't tell Mum.
Hello and welcome to Shh Don't Tell Mum.
My name's Barney.
And I'm Jamie.
And this is the 14th most listened to parenting podcast in
Brazil, baby.
Brazil, baby. And today, welcome to Shh Don't Tell Mum. This is a very special episode. Jamie, do you want to tell us why it's very special?
Because we've got another parent on the podcast.
Ooh.
And it's my father.
Oh, it's not a long-lost Beatle or the third Gallagher brother. It's Andre Jacquemin.
Yip, 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 yip.
Yes.
And his dog.
And his dog. Actually, we've got two guests on here. Yeah. This is Remy. Dad, let's first start off with Dad has an obsession with Disneyland. So we're going to soften it a little bit. Yeah. Andre, why did you call the dog Remy?
We were choosing names and we just didn't want a normal name like Rover or Bert or Bob or...
But it is based off the Pixar film Ratatouille, right?
Well, we were just running names off characters and we thought Remy came up and we thought he lifted his head up and we thought, well, that's it. It's got to be a Remy. So we stuck with Remy.
Fair enough. I mean, it doesn't really... He looks like a Remy, so we called him Remy.
Exactly,
that's fair.
There you go. He's lifted his head up when they said Remy.
Okay.
Yeah, so he basically chose his name, didn't you, Remy?
He did, and that's how we got.
So you'll see Remy floating in and out of the podcast here and there. So don't be concerned or alarmed if you see a dog floating in and out of shot. So
he's got a chew at the moment, so he's chewing very happily.
He is. There might be some nice spicy sound effects going on throughout the pod. Now, Andre. To us, to this lovely person on my right-hand side, your dad. Yeah. To me, you are
I'm left-handed, so
you're left-handed.
Yeah, so I get my left and right always mixed up.
Okay, well, this one is it calls you dad. I call you, in-law. But also, to a lot of people, you've been working in a very cool industry for a very long time.
Call me
Specifically, they call you twat.
Oh, also, before we get started, if you're listening to this with kids and family, because this is a family podcast, there will be swearing on the podcast because this is my father.
Yeah.
Same again with my mother. So I just want to apologise.
That's your disclaimer for the episode. I want to get a little inkling into who you are and how it all began. So I'll preface this by saying you have worked a lot with the Monty Python guys.
Over the years. That was kind of like your entrance into mainstream TV and film, right?
Yeah. So how did that all begin? Explain to us how it happened.
It was started when I was 17. I was a mere young whippersnapper. And I was a junior T-boy at a recording studio. And as I thought it was lunchtime, I was looking after reception while the receptionist was out to lunch getting a sandwich. I thought, it's very quiet. I can nip out very quickly and get myself a sandwich. So as I went down the stairs, this bloke comes in, climbing up the stairs. We were one flight up. What transpired was I thought, somebody coming up. So I quickly turned around halfway down. We almost met in the middle of the stairs. Bit like a Python sketch, and I ran behind the desk and went, yes, can I help you, sir? And he said, yes, I want to do a recording with a friend of mine doing a voiceover tape. So I said, yeah, certainly we can help you there. So I look in the diary and there were two engineers. The guy that taught me, he was busy on the session when this chap wanted to do a recording. So I thought, well, I'm free, so I'll book him in with me. So I booked him in. And we started recording. Now, this voiceover tape took probably almost a year to do because this other chap didn't have a lot of time and he was always away doing stuff and I never knew what he was doing. And it only transpired when, at the end of the recording, when we finished after this voiceover tape, I was adding sound effects and music and that kind of stuff. This guy said to me, you've done such a great job. You're really interesting. And I think what we would like you to do is that I'm doing an album. And he said, could you help us make an album? And I thought to myself, what's he want to do a talking record for? I actually thought that. What do you want to do? Anyway, so I said, yeah, fine, yeah, I can do that. Just let me know. So off he troddles. And a few months later, it must have been a few weeks later, actually. And then what happened was that I had a phone call, and I'd worked with a Wild West show doing a soundtrack for them. And they said, oh, you're really good. We would like to take you on tour with us. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? And I said, wow, I'm not sure. But funnily enough, the same week, this guy had rang me up and said, oh, well, we're about to do this record. Would you like to come along for a meeting? So I said, oh, okay. Yeah, certainly. All right, I'll come down. So I said to the Wild West show, I've got another offer, so I'm going to make a record, I think. So I can't go on tour with you. So things could have been very different had I been on a Wild West show. So I went to this bloke's house, and there was a lot of people in the room, And I thought, this is a bit awesome.
Overwhelming.
And then he said, we're just waiting for one more person. And then so the doorbell rings, and then in walks this bloke. And who was this bloke? It was John Cleese. Then the penny dropped at who these other people were. And I didn't realise, but I'd been working with Michael Palin for nearly a year and didn't know who the hell he was.
I just didn't know who he was.
Didn't know who he was.
And at this point, had they done a lot of Monty Python sketches and series and stuff like that?
Yeah, they just started their BBC One TV show.
But they hadn't done any of the movies yet.
No movies,
no records.
No, they did a BBC.
So they were known, but they weren't like the superstars.
Yeah, they weren't. They were just sort of, because they were still all,
fresh out of university.
Yeah, kind of getting their act together, really. So that's kind of what happened. And then...
what did you do when you went home? Did you say to your mum, oh my God, I'm working with these guys from TV?
No, not really. I just pondered about it because I saw this whole pile of scripts, which must have been about 2 foot high. And Mike said, look, this is what we need to do. Could you have a look at these and tell us what you want us
Can you look
what
at
you
these?
want us to
Yeah,
do.
I'll look at them.
And I mean, I was, at the back end of 17, for God's sake.
Dad doesn't know any movie he ever does because he doesn't read the script before he does it. Then he goes, I don't know what this is about. And he only figures it out by the end. And then he's done the whole film. He only works out the storyline by the end of the film. I'll come in and I'll be like,
is that Tom Hanks?
Anyway, so there was all these scripts and stuff to go through and work out, and it was quite a complex thing, actually. So I thought what I could do was that by this time the guy that had taught me had left the place I was working with and went to another studio, and I thought, well, why don't I do it with him, because I know that if we got into trouble, he could sort the problem out. I knew we would be in safe hands. And so that's kind of how it started. Partly it was that we were so organized that I got the budget down tremendously. And that's kind of why I crack in the door and kept the job, because I must have saved them about 40, 50 grand initially.
Back then, that was
a lot
what's
of
that
money.
Convert to now? 200 grand, if not more.
And here I am. I've got to say that anybody that's starting in this, I mean, I got the job in the studio because I didn't particularly want the job because I was recording I was in a band and I wanted to record our music and our songs. So I thought, I can't afford to book a recording studio. So I know if I got a job in a recording studio, I could get all the recording time I want, which was the whole incentive for actually getting the job in the first place. So,
but then Michael Pelham actually became your working partner because you suggested building a studio in your backyard.
Eventually, yeah. He'd asked me for dinner, and I went round to his house, and over dinner he said, "Look, what do you need?" Because he knew that I was putting a little studio at home together. And he said, I'd like to be part of it, And it's kind of a bit difficult for me to, I was nervous because I thought, well, look, these are Oxford and Cambridge guys. And and they are so
do
much
not
more
wanna feel
cleverer than I am.
stupid, yeah.
I mean, I've got my bicycle proficiency test and my 15-meter swimming certificate.
And you woodwork.
And that was it when I left
No,
school.
you did woodwork.
And that was it. No, I went to a technical school.
BT.
But I was useless at all the exams. I was useless at because I thought I know what I wanted to do. I was in a band and I knew I wanted to do recording, and that was my main purpose and a goal. And then when you get the school teachers with their work experience people and said, "Oh no, you've got to do a proper job," and I was saying, "Well, are you saying that Paul McCartney doesn't do a proper job, or or Jimi Hendrix, do they not do a proper job?" And they said, no, that's a fantasy, And I said, well, they must have started somewhere.
Yeah,
That's what I always say. But you know what? It's quite funny because I always have a flashback of you reading a paragraph from Friends Reunited. And for kids that don't know what Friends Reunited was, it was a place where you could reunite with your friends online, and it was like it's like a family tree online. And there was like a section for Dad's school. And somebody, I think maybe one of the teachers, wrote something on there saying, "Is the Andre Jacquemin we taught, he was absolutely useless at school." It was like the most insult paragraph about him. And they basically were like, "Is he the guy on all the titles for all the Python movies?"
That is mad. I think that also
Actually,
the
reply
entry
to that, I'll just put yes at the end of that.
I think also the entry into the industry itself from that story that you just gave us is quite incredible, because nowadays someone that works in the entertainment industry, like Jamie's a DJ, I work as a presenter. When we go into this industry, agents and have PR people and all this stuff. Whereas now, when you had that, you bumped into someone on the stairs and you said, "Oh, I can do that for you," and then it evolved from there. It's just that. It feels like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, it was just being
it's
in the
always
right,
very rare.
Yeah, but it was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just luck at the end of the day. And it just so happened that I was pretty good at what I was doing. I'd latched onto this quite quickly, which is what my school teachers probably failed to recognize, but I was good. I mean, I would making metal boxes, wooden boxes, and that sort of stuff at school.
Yeah, you're good at handyman, that's for sure.
And we were taught that, which I think is really what's missing from school today. But principally, what I'm saying is that if anybody watching this and young and need any inspiration, you can be what you want to be. I really didn't worry about what job I wanted to do, because I just thought to myself, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And I thought, do I want to be an astronaut? And I really believed I could be an astronaut. Do I want to? I had no fear about anything I wanted to do. I said, I'll put my mind to it and just concentrate on what I want to do. So anybody that wants to do something, you've got to put your mind to it, dedicate yourself to that, and give it a good shot. It's easy to walk away from these things, but it's a lot harder to actually persevere and carry on through the bad times. And we all get, dodgy times, but...
Yeah, because I wanted to actually touch on that, because you and my mum this is a parenting podcast, and you and my mum had a very different upbringing. So I felt like there was a bit of pull and tug when it came to like parenting me. Mum wanted me to go one direction, you wanted me to go another direction. And sometimes you were butting heads on that, which I suppose a lot of parents can relate to, because they all have different jobs. Oh, it's the way you're brought up. So you were brought up with parents that said that you could do anything that you wanted to do in the world. So you didn't really believe in the schooling system. So
no, they encouraged you to do what you wanted to do, and helped you out, And then, my dad was manager at a greengrocer. He was really good at what he was doing, and my mum was at home, and we used to have foreign students stay with us to help with the house budgets, and that's how she was around a lot more than my dad. And both of them were very encouraging. They didn't stop me doing anything I wanted. And so much so that when my dad was a keen gardener, and he built a greenhouse in the garden for his flowers and stuff, and I had this opportunity to do this record, and there was going to be a few more records after that. I said to my dad, do you mind if I turn your greenhouse into a recording studio. And he said, well, I've just built it, he said. And he said, well, all right, then, yeah, if you want it, then yeah, go ahead and do that. So he built a shed where he put his flowers in, and then I ended up converting the greenhouse into a recording studio with my friend Dave Howman, who used to work in the local music shop. He was an amazing guitar, or is an amazing guitar player, and we were, I wouldn't say, we didn't go to school together, we were in different schools, but we were playing together in the same bands, and we decided to go into partnership there, and Mike Pellion wanted to jump in on the bandwagon with us on that, and that's how that all started.
You predominantly did, the TV series side of things with Monty Python, as they grew, and then came feature-length films. What was the main difference between going from the TV side into feature films? Other than the workload and the amount of time you spent, is there actually a different approach?
No, not really. I mean, certainly with the Python thing, the TV was all taken care of by the TV companies. I was doing all the records, and when the films came in, we were just doing what we were doing for the records, and most of it we'd sort of make up as we went along, because everybody was throwing in everything that they could. From if there was a particular scene missing in a film, they would the loft that we were working in when we were in Covent Garden, they would just build a little set in the corner of the room. And like the room we're in now, we would say, oh, let's just put a couch in, put a blah, blah, blah in and all that, and let's film the scene in there. And we would busk it as we went along, and everybody chipped in. It was all, everybody did everything. And that's partly why I ended up doing movies, because Python, we did everything. We did the dialogues, we did the Foley. Foley is where you had the footsteps
like
in the windows,
basically.
and the sound effects and the sound design. We would do absolutely everything.
But that's where the coconut idea came along, because they didn't have budget for horses, right?
Well, that was on Holy Grail, yeah. In fact, that came from Julian Doyle. He was one of the editors and second director of the Holy Grail.
Those of you that aren't aware, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, my favorite Monty Python film, they instead of riding horses in the scenes, they run with a fake horse's like head on the stick, which is what kids would have, and they would clap coconuts together to make the sounds of the horse.
Well,
they actually do that in the film.
They actually did it in the film, yeah. They didn't actually have fake horses, and they got away with it because it was really, really funny. Which, in fact, Holy Grail was a bigger film in America than Life of Brian.
What was your favourite one to work on?
Soundtrack-wise, I think the album, if you listen to the film soundtrack albums of Python, they are just so brilliantly put together, because we didn't just run the soundtrack of the film. We would take you to the toilets in the cinema, or the camera would break down, or, we'd have a spin-off on just the soundtrack alone to make it kind of
like unique in its own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. And the same with Life of Brian too. So out of all the albums we did, I think the film ones are fantastic, and they're my favorite ones. We did obviously a music album, which was the last contractual album, because by the end of the Python, there was one contractual. In the contract, we had to do one more album. So that's when we decided to do a music album.
So feature films evolved into other films. A question that I wanted to ask you is because, you see a lot of famous faces coming in and out of the studio and stuff. Did you ever get really like starstruck seeing someone rock up and you go, oh, wow, that's that person? And maybe it's someone that you weren't anticipating to walk into the studio, or are you always pretty cool, calm and collected?
No, I think pretty cool, calm and collected, because people would say to me, oh, the people you've worked with must be amazing how you've seen these people and seen their lifestyles and worked with them, and not really their poo is just as smelly as our poo. I mean, it's not it's not kind of, they're just ordinary people.
The problem is every time Dad works on a film, someone dies on the film.
My God, what?
So
elaborate, please.
Well,
what's that about?
Okay, so we did the one with Robin Williams, and then he passed away after he'd done that
Remy's
recording.
getting fully involved.
And then what was it? Heath Ledger. That was another one.
Yeah.
He died on the film.
Are you cursed, Andre?
No, I'm not good.
Wait, Heath Ledger film you worked on, was that the one, like that one that he died halfway
Dr.
through filming?
Yeah, Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh no, that was way before, wasn't it?
No, that was on the
Imaginarium?
movie because that's why they had to.
That was the last
they
one,
changed the
yeah.
They had to
writing.
change the
That's
So they had
technically-
4 actors in the end of the same actor.
That technically,
Oh my
so they
God.
wrote it into the script
Yeah,
because he
that
died on the.
that technically was
Andre.
Heath Ledger's last film, you know.
I don't want to be sat next to him. What's going on? Why am I here? Why aren't
Well,
you
he
here?
doesn't. He doesn't say it's him. He says it's Terry. He says he's the
Oh,
cast one.
Terry Gilliam.
Well, Terry Gilliam's been trying to kill me for years.
Just casually the guy that directed Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. You know, we're just
Yeah,
throwing
yeah, yeah.
names
What
out
did
here.
you do on Fear and
You know,
Loathing? Because you're on
music,
the credits.
You did the music?
Yeah, I don't even know if I've got a credit on Fear and Loathing. I presume I have.
You do. It's on IMDb.
Oh, is
Just
it? Right.
as you do. Just I might have a credit on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I don't know. You heard of that little film? You know, the one that made Johnny Depp's career? Yeah. Anyway, so as Jamie's already mentioned, this is a parenting podcast. So, you know, let's say I threw you down a well and you wake up and it's 1988, Jamie's born. Is there anything that you would do differently? Because the way that we perceive parenting is we're constantly trying to learn, adapt, make sure that, you know, we do everything the right way. But there is no right way. There's only, you know, how you handle certain situations and stuff. I mean, how do you feel about
You're going to have a certain amount of freedom with your kid. Now, what I found was that with Jamie, she had a certain talent. I recognized a certain talent with her. And I thought, well, let's just develop that in the way that she wants to develop. Don't force her into anything. So, you know, you buy her a violin and she plays violin for a bit. And if she doesn't like playing violin, then we won't.
how long did you play violin for?
A while.
Did you?
That was actually really good.
Yeah, she was very good. Yeah.
You built a stage in her bedroom. I have to kind of poke the bear with this one. Why did you build a stage in her bedroom?
In Highgate with the
in Highgate, yeah. A little, because
With the
her
curtains.
friend had one. Her friend had one and she wanted one. So we thought,
How many
do that.
times did Jamie have to ask you before you did it? Because I need to gauge, like, you know, if Rocket comes to me and he asks, Daddy, I want this.
I was an
How
only
many times
child.
until I cave in? How many times did you have to ask? Or were you game for it? You were like, yeah,
you
take the stage.
casually go into it, you know, casually go into it. But Jamie was confident, and in what she built her confidence up in her talent, if you know what I mean. And that was the great thing. There was a time when she was doing a concert at school where every kid had to do a little bit of a performance of what they learned through the term. And Jamie had a little violin piece that she wanted to play. And she was standing in front of the class, all the teachers and the whole assembly hall. And she had her music stand and she started playing her violin, concentrating, looking at the music. And all of a sudden the music stand fell and collapsed. So Jamie looked down.
Everyone laughed.
Everyone
the
laughed
whole
and all that.
auditorium.
So and again, she just kind of looked at the stand and thought, right, well, I can't stop now. I'll just carry on. And then she just carried on and
Nice.
buxed it.
The show must
for
go
the rest
on.
The show must go on. And she'd learned that all on her own. We didn't tell her to do that or whatever, but she felt that she had to go on, and she had the confidence to go on and not
Break down
walk
and
off
run
and
off.
break down
Yeah.
and run off. And it's that sort of encouragement that they learn if you give them the opportunity to learn. If you don't give them that opportunity, then you're buggered, really, I suppose.
But the one thing I just remember, you always, you didn't want me to, you know, go spend all my money, do it the conventional way of what kids would do. Was your parents would send you to university, you'd get a student loan, you'd get yourself into debt, and then you'd leave and then have to get a full-time job because you'd have to pay the debt that you'd spent in education. You went, no, you're not doing it that way. You're going to live at home with me, and you were going to work on your craft.
Well, I
It's
think,
such a different
I
way
mean, having had my own recording studio, and I'd get a lot of work experience from schools, young kids from schools coming to learn about what we do in recording studios, and it isn't the glamour that people see. And the parents always used to come up and they say, well, look, what do you think is the best to do? He's got to go to college, blah, 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 and all this. And I'd say, whoa, wait a minute. I had to explain to them and saying, why are you sending your kid to college when he knows what he wants to do? So what's going to happen is you're going to send this poor kid of yours to college. In between all of that, all these other young kids who don't go to college are going to snatch his job up. And so by the time he leaves school, there'll be no jobs left because they've all been snapped up prior, because you learn on the job. It's not like I think education, if you want to be a brain surgeon, you have to go to college to learn that. You can't just...
There are certain things you have to get qualifications.
Of course, yeah.
You do. And I think with young, talented people, if they know what they really want to do, you've got to encourage that. And it is a bit chancy, I know, but they'll learn a lot more
on the job.
Yeah. As I said, I was lucky when I saw this advert in a doorway in Wardour Street saying T-Boy wanted, you know, and that's how I started. I thought, wow, this is my opportunity, you know. And it was strict then, yes, for sure, you know, and they tell you to say, here's a list of things you've got to do. If you don't do this, we've had 6 people in 6 months and we've had to fire them all because they don't stick to that list. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be like those other people. You've got to be determined and completely focused on what you do. And it is a difficult thing when you're young, you know, and you just leave school.
Stay focused for sure. Like I think if I found DJing when I was 19, I wouldn't be taken seriously because I wouldn't come to the job on time and I would be all over the place and I just didn't really respect work.
No, I think for you, your concentration. But you see, that wasn't what you wanted to do. You were more concentrated on singing, and you were really good at doing, or you still are, but very good. And the things that we've done together, where I've recorded you, and you can see your pitch frequencies, and you see them. You sing in tune. I mean, it's quite remarkable to see how precise you can be.
I was, not now.
Well, maybe
I'm too old now.
She sings on the toilet. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It is practicing all the time, like a
death by dog. So we get a lot of emails, comments, messages in our DMs on social media from parents who have toddlers. A lot of them that are the same age as Rocket, asking us for advice. While I have a dog climbing across me. Remy, what's wrong with you? So we get a lot of these kind of messages asking us advice about certain things. Now, the funny thing about, I think especially dads or men, there's this ongoing kind of funny, jokey situation where people are like, men don't ever discuss anything deep. So if I go home and I say, oh, my friend, has got engaged, and Jamie will go, oh, what happened? And I'll be like, I don't know. And be like, what did he say to her? I don't know. Like, men just don't talk about the in-depth things. But
that's true.
Being amongst all these other guys, that you worked with throughout the years, did anyone ever really share parenting advice to you? Did you go in completely blind? Did you ask or talk to people about it? And did you ever get any really good parenting advice?
No, no parenting.
You winged it
at all. Yeah, I totally winged it.
But you were kind of the last one out of all your friends. I was like the youngest kid. It felt like.
Yeah, because I was, but most of the people I was working with was with Python, wasn't it? With their kids and stuff growing up and stuff.
They were already grown up.
Yeah, so it was in between that, and it was in between babies. Remy.
Okay, Dad. Somebody help me.
Remy
Chaos
is just
podcast.
completely taking over the
Chaotic
podcast.
Dog podcast. Now let's say we have someone contact us saying that they're struggling, they have a toddler, toddler's screaming, terrible twos, all that stuff. What advice do you have for parents? If someone said to you, you've raised an incredible woman, what advice do you have?
Oh, thanks, Bart.
You've raised an incredible woman. Well, I think what we've said, just give them as much encouragement as possible. And you will get times where you think, oh, crumbs,
what would you do in those coping stages of the crazy times of
2-3-year-old? Driving Matt, you give it to the mother.
Would you escape? Give it to the mum.
Do you wish you were more like looking back, because you were always the one at work and mum was at home a lot of the time? I remember moments of my childhood where you would come and pick me up from school and it was like, oh my God, my dad's picking me up from school, such a special occasion. Now, the annoying thing about present parents, and I don't know about everybody else, but from my upbringing, I remember the times where my dad would pick me up from school, not the million times my mom would pick me up from school. And that kind of sucks.
It does, doesn't it?
At the end of the day, it was such a special occasion because my dad picked me up from school. I remember that. And I remember he threw me on his shoulders and I felt like the queen of the world because my dad picked me up from school. Or I was sick one day and he had to leave work early and come get me.
Yeah, that was because I was working 14, 15, 16 hours a day, literally for, forever almost. And whenever I could have that opportunity to pick you up because I wasn't working on a particular time or whatever, I would make the effort to do that.
You change, make it fun.
Then when inevitably you ended up doing sort of West End shows, like you were in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and I was working in the West End, and after I finished work, I kind of organised it so that I could finish work and come and pick you up after the show, which is 10:30-ish, something like that at night.
Yeah.
And you make the extra effort to be there. So, yeah, I wasn't there all the time, but on the other hand, the times that I did have, I would make the effort into doing your best. And I'm sure you guys do the same.
Yeah, and you gave me a lot of opportunity. I remember my dissertation for English. This was GCSEs. This wasn't even like
university level
universities. And I was doing a dissertation on Tony Hancock, who was a comedian, a very famous comedian in the 1950s.
Yeah, 50s, 60s. Yep.
And my dad was really good friends with a guy called Eric Sykes. So I interviewed Eric Sykes as my dissertation for my GCSEs, which is crazy. And people
if you
go,
think
what?
about it now, yeah, absolutely. And he was gracious.
And I was 11.
I was actually working with Eric Sykes on one of his films, and I'd asked him if possible we could talk to him about Tony Hancock because he knew Tony very well and wrote for him.
But he did say, this you have to make this about Eric, not about Tony. And I was like, okay. So I'm going in with like these terms and conditions as an 11-year-old.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make it more about him. So that was kind of scary.
Yeah, I know. I must dig out the video because I was filming it on an old VHS camera, and I've got it somewhere, the actual interview.
Wow.
And I keep meaning to go into that. And Eric Sykes was such a funny man, and he very gracious enough to spend time in his busy schedule because he's writing a book
At the time.
At the time about his life. And I remember he turned around to me and he said, "You're featuring it, Andre." He said, "You're featuring it."
Are you in it? Have you checked?
I think I am. I don't know.
One line. A one-liner.
One liner.
I hate looking up things about me. So
well, you shouldn't because you've accomplished a lot, and everyone's super excited to have you either a on this podcast alone, but also they're lucky to have you on any of these jobs. And what I would like to do now is do a little test, Andre.
A test or a game?
It's it's both. We're going to test you on your Monty Python song skills.
Depends which album.
I'm going to play you the first few seconds of a Monty Python song and you have to guess what it is. Okay. Chances are you'll know because I think you wrote most of these. But if you don't know them...
I didn't write everything.
Then you're in trouble.
Oh.
You get them wrong, you're in trouble.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, what would you like to name the game? You can name the game. Monty...
Can I choose them? Because I'll know which ones to use.
Monty song title.
Monty song titles. Okay, Monty song titles. Number 1.
Weather for the whole area will continue much the same as the past few days. Temperatures 17 centigrade.
Lumberjack song.
Yes, well done.
What? There was no song.
Okay.
It was just the talking leading up to the song.
Okay, another one.
Okay.
The world today seems absolute.
I like Chinese.
Yes, yes.
What?
Okay, and this one?
Life of Brian.
Yeah.
Title music.
By the way, can I just put in, I don't think you'd be able to call a song I Like Chinese anymore. Could you?
No.
Could you? Would you be cancelled for that? I don't know.
Probably.
It's Christmas in Heaven.
Yes.
What?
Okay, ready and...
Bright Side of Life.
Always look at the right side of life. We'll do two
How
more.
many of these did you...
Ladies and gentlemen, here's a little number I tossed off recently.
It's from The Meaning of Life, the Noel Coward song. penis song.
Yes.
The penis song.
I know it's not the Noel Coward song.
Well, it's
How many of these did you write so far?
there's no Life of title music, Life of Brian, and then all the others
This
I
one.
recorded
Hang on,
and
hang on.
produced.
There are Jews in the world.
the top?
There are Buddhists.
Yeah, I know
That's
the song.
the
I'm
first
just-
line.
Every sperm is sacred. I wrote that. Yeah, sorry. With Dave Howman. With Dave Howman. I must say, with Dave Howman and me.
Cancel.
With
And back to podcast. That is the end of the show.
And we're
But
cancelled.
people are so precious now about it.
Well,
so okay. So wonder if I grew up. I want to touch on this really quickly because of the lyrics you write. They're crazy. Some of them. Some of them.
Yeah, we wrote mostly we wrote the music. And Mike Palin and Terry Jones wrote the lyrics. But the main writer in Python was Eric, really. Eric Idle did most of them. But Dave Howman and I, because obviously we touched on it earlier, we were old friends from growing up together and playing in bands together, that we did the music.
And I'm going to be a bit controversial right now.
Oh dear.
But obviously with everything with the gender situation going on, Rocket going to school, and if he wants to change gender, how do I approach that down the line? All these kind of things. You think as a parent, you think of all these kind of crazy ideas. What do you say about that?
Well, he's got to be what he wants to be. What's the point of forcing somebody to be not to be what they want to be?
I love
Fair
that.
enough.
That's a very good
creative
answer.
parent's response, because anyone from your era, no offense, would probably say something wildly different to what you just said.
But he was
beat the shit out of him.
wildly.
Beat the shit out of them.
But the thing
And there's
is,
the comedian.
yeah. Do you want to do any more songs? I think he cracked
What
that.
I would like to do is just ask you a final question, because I believe we're slowly running out of time.
Thank God.
And I feel like
Thank God
nowadays,
for that.
no, Andre, nowadays, right? We're surrounded by technology. You're very familiar with technology in itself, and you know you love tech. You know you always get the latest Mac equipment, sound equipment, because it's part of your job. Now, but when it comes to upbringing of kids, what piece of technology
I've got the latest
have you
kid.
seen?
Well, I haven't got the latest kid.
You
no.
don't have the latest kid. When it comes to the latest technology, what do you wish you had when Jamie was growing up that you obviously didn't have back then that you've seen now?
Probably
Don't say
a
an
VR
iPad.
VR
to give them.
headset.
VR,
VR
headset.
headset. He loves a VR headset.
Escape into the world
One thing
of
that
VR.
I remember as a kid, and I always mention it on the podcast, is that all my homework was with floppy disk on PCs, and I could never do it because we never had a floppy disk.
You
Because we
loved
were
a
on
Mac.
Mac. We were always on Mac or Atari, and I just remember Mac didn't have floppy disk.
That's CDs.
They
Well,
were
they
first for
did.
CDs.
Initially, they did, and they were the first people that ditched it, and they thought this isn't the way forward.
And I just always got
And then download
Bollocked
streams.
for it. I got bollocked because I could never do my homework. And I'm like, you don't understand. I don't have a floppy disk.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember the time. Yeah, I do remember the time.
Saw a
when,
video that said in 1995, if you put 10 grand into Apple stock in 1995, now you'd have something like £7 million.
I know.
From 10 grand. Anyway, that's obviously a completely random piece of information. Andre, you've been absolutely incredible as a guest on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and see us. Obviously, you stayed with us yesterday. We had a whale of a time.
We did.
And, you know, I can't wait to see more of you. I'll probably see you at home.
You probably will.
We're going to Disneyland soon. You
we are
excited?
going to
We
Disney-
are.
Yeah.
We're going to feature that on a YouTube video. So get
We are
ready,
indeed.
guys.
Oh,
That'll be
good.
fun.
This will be fun.
Yes, it will be the four of us.
What
me.
are you most excited for?
I'm most excited that we can walk down Main Street and not see any dog poo and people sleeping in alleyways.
Oh.
And that the place
Because
is
it's Disneyland.
It's
and you can't do
Disneyland.
that.
Yeah,
You can't sleep on
to
the floor. there.
happiest place on earth.
Apparently so, isn't it? Have you got any final questions for your
No,
pops?
I'm actually looking forward to it purely because we're taking your son.
Yes.
And what's his name, Dad?
And Rocket.
Okay, cool.
We're taking Rocket. No, I didn't forget. I'm just
Your son.
and we are.
I think it's the way you said it. You were like, we
We're
are
taking
taking
your son.
No,
Yes.
but that's what's exciting me most of all because she's not been there before. And I remember taking Jamie when she was a tiddly toddler. She was on my shoulders looking at things around and and the parades and that kind of stuff. And it was fascinating. And she's never really, in a way, forgotten about that. And it's just one of those things that you're in a different world. And what I quite like about it is that, let's face it, this world is tough, isn't it? It's a tough old world to be in, you know, with going to work, blah, 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 blah. The moment you walk through that front gate, you're in a different world.
Oh.
And you can't really get that in many, many places when you go into a different world. Even when you're on holiday, you're still facing life. If you know what I mean.
difficulties.
But when you're in Disneyland, you are in a theme park.
Yeah, but also the people
It's all
there.
happy.
But people there are trying to make your life more pleasant.
And if you want 6 chicken wings, it's going to set you back 25 quid.
Yes.
But it's worth it.
Yes.
Okay.
So get a meal plan.
So get a meal plan. That's
And
true,
plan
actually.
ahead.
Get a
Plan
meal
ahead.
plan because then
That's
it's all.
my-
I was about to say then it's all
that's
free.
my
No, it's
advice.
all inclusive. It's
Inclusive.
worth going all inclusive at Disney because we went out for dinner that time, didn't we? And we were like, that one meal was the cost of being all inclusive.
It was.
So
Exactly.
it's absurd. But
Yeah.
Andre, you're a legend. Thank you
you.
so much. To many
Thanks,
people,
Dad.
you are actually the embodiment of a legend in sound, but you're
Where's
a
that
legend
dog?
in our eyes as well. Remy.
Finally, the last 5
decides-
minutes, he just goes,
Oh,
oh,
there he
there
comes.
he is.
Give me
Quick,
5.
run.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to Dutch
just
Style
licked his
Mum. Make sure
tongue.
you send us an
Oh,
email.
God.
It's thebanksters@gmail.com if you have any questions for us, anything to do with parenting or anything that you want us to ask Andre and we can get back to you. Love ya.
Bye-bye.
Shh.